Hey everybody. So one of the biggest challenges I think that people in the reselling community face that I hear talked about is trying to find a place to store all of your inventory. So a lot of resellers start off small. Maybe they're working out of their apartment, out of their house, and maybe eventually they do scale up and end up renting warehouse space and they can expand from there. But I think a majority of people like myself, we just kind of work out of our homes. And sometimes those homes are fairly small, or they're apartments, or people sometimes want to take their business on the road in a camper, or they're living the tiny home life or whatever. So is it still possible to be a reseller if you don't have a lot of space? So I think it is. And I think there are definite niches or niches. That word always gets me because I looked it up and you can pronounce it niche or you can pronounce it niche. And I can never figure out if niche just sounds pretentious or if it's just accurate and I should use it. So anyway, I'm just gonna pick one and I'm gonna go with niche, okay? So I think that there are several niches that can work in small spaces. And today I'm just going to talk about one of those. I keep promising shorter videos and it keeps not happening. And so I'm really going to try to keep this one a little bit shorter. So the niche that I want to talk about today falls under the broader category of ephemera. Now, ephemera, you probably know the word ephemeral, something that doesn't last. And ephemera is just that. It's bits of pieces of paper and paper goods and things that just weren't meant to be kept or to last a long time. So ephemera is a huge category, and I'm not going to talk about all of the different types of ephemera that you can sell. You can go into postcards. There's plenty of YouTube videos about selling postcards. There's old photos. Junk journaling is very popular right now, and so just kind of bits of papers that are, pages out of books, dictionary pages, just different things like that. People kind of bundle stickers, greeting cards, I just keep thinking of stuff. People bundle them up and sell them to junk journalers. So those are all options. It wouldn't take up a lot of space. Now, what I wanted to focus on was maybe just something that you hadn't quite thought of, but this is actually a niche that I have done before, and I had an Etsy shop devoted to it. Yes, we have over the years, we've tried out a bunch of different niches, a bunch of different categories of selling. That's just kind of, my husband and I were talking about it the other day, and that's just kind of our style. We kind of get interested in one particular category and we learn a lot about it and we have a shop and it does well. And then you're just kind of like, I usually have several of those going at the same time. And so some end up getting my attention a little bit longer. And then one of them kind of gets neglected for a little while, and then I just kind of switch it up. And it just kind of helps keep reselling interesting for me. So in the past, we did have an Etsy shop, and it was basically just an ephemera Etsy shop. But one of the things in that shop that we had a lot of fun with was pages from books that are just interesting illustrations from pages from old books. So you're not selling copies of the illustration, you're selling the page itself. So there's no, issue with copyright or anything like that, even, if it's not older than, 75 years or whatever it is. And I am not, before people come at me, I'm not talking about just grabbing any book and just destroying it and ripping it up just to pull pictures out of it to sell. That could be what some people do, but what we tried to do was to focus a little bit on books, mostly on books that were falling apart, they were older, they didn't have a lot of interest, they were partially damaged, things like that. And we would pull out some of the older illustrations and then the interesting color ones, sometimes black and white, and we would just sell this page like by itself for say $10, $15, things like that. So here's another one, kind of give you the idea. This one's two-sided, different mushrooms. Here's another one. These must have been all from the same book, and you can see the pages are kind of water damaged a little bit. Now the point of this is that they are pages or pictures that people like to frame and to just kind of get something interesting and frame them and put them on their wall. And the good thing about this, and why I say it would work for small spaces, is that you could fit a huge, I think our whole inventory, well, not even, this has stuff that wasn't even listed yet too, I think. But we could fit, see, Etsy ephemera, it still says on it. We could fit a bunch of inventory just in this small container. And so that's why I just think it would be such a great little category for someone who doesn't have a lot of space to focus on. It might not be your whole shop, you might not be making your whole living, but if you're doing this as a hobby just to make a little bit of extra money, or if you have the space, maybe you just have like one little room or closet to devote to reselling, you could do this. You could do some of the other categories that I hope to talk about in the future, because like as I said, I wanted to keep this video a little bit shorter. Anyway, so what we did is we just had the file and we divided it. I don't know if you'll be able to see. We just kind of categorized it by, you know, animals, or I had some flashcards I sold, some floral, botanical, medical. Okay, this is a really fun one. I'm going to show you this one. This one comes from a really old book, and medical prints actually did really well for us, and it folds out. Isn't that cool? So sometimes the things that we sold were not necessarily just for people framing, but a lot of these things I think ended up in people's art projects or artwork or things like that. And yeah, medical was a good category. Floral is always a good category. Anything kids or children related did seem to do really well. You could get, if you got older books that, you know, had, you know, maybe nursery rhymes or just very cute little characters or well-known characters, people would frame them for their nurseries or for their kids' rooms. And so we always did pretty well with that. In a similar line, there are people who have a huge business on eBay selling advertisements from vintage magazines. So that's a whole nother category that you could kind of explore and get into. We know how magazines, they're just so abundant at yard sales and things, and sometimes if you can look at the older magazines, look through it, find ads for cars or for, you know, just something that's very time specific or collectible, and then people like to buy those as well. So yeah, I was just kind of looking. I had things divided by birds and fish. Another thing that we did, I don't think we have it in here. We don't have that many in here. But another category we did here, I'll give you an example of a falling apart book that I picked up. I picked up this atlas. You can see my price tag is still on it. It was $5, falling apart. And what we did is we sold quite a few. Here, maybe I'll just show you the one that's not in plastic. Like, here's the state of Washington, right? And then on the back, we had the state of Wisconsin. So if I was listing this, I would list both states. You know, they could buy, they might not want the Washington side, but they want this one. And so the other good thing about shipping, or sorry, my brain is going ahead. The other good thing about doing this type of reselling for small spaces is that your shipping supplies shouldn't take up a whole lot of room either. So here's one. We did have to buy some special sizes, like these were kind of bigger, so we got these plastic sleeves that are sealable. We got the plastic to put them in. And then I don't have a large one right now, but then we would just ship in a stay flat like this. That's what they're called, the stay flat. So I can put a link down below of like the sources I use to buy stay flats. Here's like a smaller little plastic sleeve, and we would just pop it in there. Shipping is so easy. Photographing is easy. You can either scan, you can take pictures. I think if you scan, I would probably put a watermark or something on it if you can, if the site you're selling on allows that. And otherwise, yeah, people will probably just copy the image and print it instead of buying yours. But anyway, there's a little bit of that you're not going to be able to escape anyway. So yeah, so we had maps. Then because our shop it wasn't strictly, here, let me just show you a couple more examples. So I showed you like all those animals, a lot of different categories. Like look at this. This one should do so good, but I never got it listed. Isn't that cool? Can't you see that? Somebody just framing that, putting that up? Anyway, here are some pages that were water damaged. You can see the water damage at the side, but it's basically like a really old picture of different types of exercises to do. You can tell from their clothing how old it is. So what I like to do, I have to kind of refresh myself on how I did some of these things. But sometimes if I knew what book I was getting something out of, like you can see the water damage, I might save the title page. That would give me a date, sometimes like copyright 1945 for this water damaged ones. And that just kind of helped me when I made my listing to add some details. And sometimes I said where actually the illustration came from, if I knew that. And this book that didn't have a cover, we've got all these really cool typography type images. I think could possibly do pretty well. So we had our shop on Etsy, and I really think Etsy is a good marketplace for this type of thing, just because of the nature. There's a lot of handmade artists on Etsy, and so you're kind of, when you're doing some things like this that people can use in their art, they are looking on Etsy for their supplies. And then also it's just sometimes the people who are selling on there, they're also buyers, right? And they're artsy people, and they might be interested in having some different kinds of illustrations or pictures or things on the wall. So sometimes even the more interesting or the more odd, the more different, the better, right? So I have this one saved out that never got listed, but I could see that doing well. Anyway, so yeah, so I got thinking about it, and I was thinking not only the amount of space your inventory would take up, so you could have just a couple file boxes like that, or you could have a filing cabinet. Depending on how big, if you got into posters or anything like that, you might need a little bit more space. The shipping supplies don't take up a whole lot of space. And then another benefit or advantage that I thought about was, I don't know if you've noticed, but reselling has gotten fairly more competitive in the last few years. I think a lot more people have started doing it. Thrift store prices have gone up. So I told my husband I really wanted to start focusing on, instead of competing with a bunch of the other resellers. Don't get me wrong, we sell clothing, we make a lot of money at clothing, and so I think we'll always kind of do clothing. But instead of fighting thrift store pricing and fighting other resellers, you know, I wanted to start looking for maybe things that were just kind of under the radar. And I just think if you're at a yard sale, estate sale, or something like that, and there's books that are falling apart, take a quick look, see if they have interesting illustrations or something. This is a niche that could actually be incorporated into just a regular vintage shop. And, you know, you're not going to pay a lot for these falling apart books, and you're not going to, you know, you're probably not going to be fighting other resellers because, you know, not that many people are going to watch my video. So, or be interested in doing it. You know, my husband and I, as we've talked about it the last couple of days, we're both like, we really enjoyed this niche and we really had fun with it. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish up the video by showing you our shop. It's on vacation right now, but I can just show you some of the ones that sold and things like that. And so we've been talking and we're like, we should reopen that shop. So I really think, I know you think I'm crazy. I have way too many niches going on right now. There are too many shops, but I really think you have to enjoy what you're doing. And so what my husband said, he said, I wouldn't worry about it. He said, just, you know, do what you enjoy. And he's getting more and more into reselling, and he really loves this category. And he's like, I'll list in there. I don't care. And as we know, he lists a lot faster than I do. So I think between the two of us, we just kind of keep things interesting and keep things interesting to us and just try something new. So I just wanted to share that one thing. We'll talk about maybe some other possible categories in the future that would work for reselling in small spaces. But for now, let me switch over to the computer and I'll just give you a quick look at that shop. Okay. My shop was called Vintage Paperology, and the little tagline was all the ephemera that's fit to frame. As you can see, while we had it open, we had 166 sales. I don't believe we had it open very long. I think we did kind of end up getting overwhelmed a little bit at one point with different niches that we had, and who knows what was going on at the time. Because I'm looking at the reviews, and the last one was 2015. So this was a while ago that we did this. But we still have a bunch. This is what you're looking at right now is some of the ones that sold and just the feedback that I had. But I can go over here to sales. Yeah, so we have kept all our inventory. Like I said, it hasn't taken up much space, so we just kind of had it in storage, and we moved it with us. We've moved a couple times since then, and we've moved it with us, kind of knowing we would probably get back into it at some point. So anyway, yeah, so Vintage Paperology, you know, we didn't only just do those illustrations like I was talking about. We also had some of these, you can see, I guess I can open it. Yay. Okay. So we had these really large flashcards that I picked up at a yard sale. And I had 3 boxes. I had homonyms, and I had synonyms and antonyms. And I've actually sold quite a few of these. So they were from the 60s by Milton Bradley. And this one actually, so this listing, the person... out of stock. See, yeah, they're not showing the price on this one. But anyway, they bought 12 of them. So this was a more expensive sale of these than, it might not be showing because I'm on vacation mode. Okay, so we did some illustrations. We got an older book of the Little Prince, and those were really popular, those pictures, James and the Giant Peach. And then we did have this really awesome book we came across one time that had illustrations of like vintage hot air balloon type illustrations. And anyway, we sold a lot of those. Let me see if that one will show a price or if it's true. No, they're not showing prices on these. Probably because I'm on vacation mode. But I think it was between $12 and $15 for that. More little prints. Someone, I think, bought these 3 together. We had a bird. Here's a bunch of the hot air balloon illustrations sold. Some botanical ones. Then I also came across, like I said, I found something also that sold really well was children's illustrations, like I said, but these were like school safety posters or good manners posters. I mean, they weren't huge. They weren't, these were 12 by 9, but they seem to be super popular as well. Good little boy never talks back. Sleep with fresh air. Okay, another bird. There was a book, the artist Howard Pyle. It was kind of a collection of his prints. I had a book of different kinds of horses. So here's some more of those flashcards, more little prints. Some vintage kids science books. Let me go further back. There's more of those. See if there's anything else interesting. These were more health posters. These were super cute. The artist was Charles 12trees. I feel like I'm about to sneeze. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, anyway. That was super cute. And I'm just seeing, I keep going back, seeing if there was anything that was like a different category. I was doing a lot of the school kind of kids related stuff for a long time. See, there's a medical one, diseases of the teeth from 1901. There's another skeleton one. Sometimes I would get a box of flashcards. Oh, it's not available because it was an ongoing listing, so it's not going to show it. So basically, I would just pick out 50 random Chinese language flashcards and send that. See, there's a French language flashcards. Here were some more of the safety posters that sold. Lots of flashcards. Here's a map. And I don't think more diseases or more anatomy, I think. German massage. Some folk art. Anyway, I think I had this shop open one time and then we put it on vacation and then we kind of started it up again because the styles are a little bit different. Did a lot of flashcards. There's some more of the kind of nursery massage type ones. There's some nursery rhymes. Oh, and then these, I had some large, let's see if I need more, some owls, some animals, some sailboat. Just the illustration, the coloring on those pictures was really cool. And I had a collection of cow prints, illustrations. So yeah, and I think it's possible. I also started off selling some of these things like the flashcards and things like that in my main Etsy shop. And then we decided to go ahead and switch over to really doing it. So yeah, I'm kind of excited about this, something new and different. I haven't had the shop open for a long time. And so we just went through this. My husband reopened his shop and you have to set up the whole payment connection thing has to be updated and everything. And so that takes a couple days. So I'm pretty sure, Etsy keeps your listings like forever. So, we already probably have a bunch of expired listings in here that all we need to do is re-up them. And then we can both just kind of start taking a bunch of pictures and getting some new fresh listings in there. So we might do that. So hopefully as you, watch my what sold videos, maybe you'll start seeing some ephemera popping up in the next few weeks. That would be exciting. And so go ahead, hit the subscribe button. Not only to see the what solds, but like I said, I want to go into some more little categories or niches that could work in small spaces. I'd really like to do that. And also just leave me a comment down below what you think about this category. You know, it can be controversial because a lot of people think you're just going to go out and just cut up books that are still good, but you know, that's not what I'm encouraging. But with creativity, you can find a lot of books that would normally just get thrown away and maybe can get at least partly a second life for that. So let me know what you think about it and if you've ever tried it yourself and how did it go. Okay, thanks everybody for watching, and we will talk to you again soon.